Meeting to order. Let the record reflect it is Tuesday, October 20th, 2020 at 5:36 PM. This meeting is being conducted pursuant to Governor Pritzker's Disaster Proclamation and Public Act 101-0640, which amends requirements of the Open Meeting Act due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Pursuant to the same, the village board finds that it would be impractical to conduct an in-person meeting with all members present. I would ask at this time that the elected officials confirm that they can hear one another. Trustee Berg.
Yes, I hear you.
Trustee Brady.
Yes, can hear you.
Trustee Brennan. Trustee Galante.
Yes, I can hear you.
Trustee Mueller.
I can hear you.
Clerk Therian.
Affirmative.
President Vandenberg. All the materials for this meeting are available on the village's website, and we recommend the members and the public follow the agenda as posted. After members have spoken, I will forward public comment as follows. Once I, the chair, have a list of all public commenters, I will call on each person present at the meeting and afford them 6 minutes for their comment. The public was also provided the opportunity to submit a request until noon today by email to the clerk's office at tinleypark.org or by placing their written request in the drop box at the village hall to participate publicly via a live telephone call at the relevant portion of the public meeting. The public was provided an opportunity to submit written comments until noon today by emailing their public comments to the clerk's office at tinleypark.org or by placing their written comment in the drop box at Village Hall. Finally, each vote taken in the meeting will be conducted by roll call. And also, and no emailed public comment, if there are, will be read at the meeting. Madam Clerk, you please call the roll.
Trustee Berg.
Here.
Trustee Brady.
Here.
Trustee Brennan is absent. Trustee Galante.
Here.
Trustee Glutz.
Present.
Trustee Mueller.
Here.
And President Vandenberg is absent.
Item number 2, I'll make a motion to consider approval of the minutes of the special committee of the whole meeting held on September 29, 2020.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glutz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 3. Consider tabling the Cook County Class 8 recertification for Devon Industrial Park indefinitely. I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Madam Clerk, you please call the roll.
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan. I'm sorry, he's absent. Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glutz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 4. I'll make a motion to consider tabling the Cook County Class 8 for 73, is that 05 Devon Drive indefinitely?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Glutz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 5, foundation only permit. Who do you want to take that? Dave?
Kimberly, on the line, I think, right?
Yes.
Hi, Kimberly.
Hi, can you guys hear? Hi, this is Kimberly. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect.
Great. Thank you, Trustee Glad. Yes, we have a request for a foundation only for our project at 17100 Harlem Avenue. This is for the future gas station convenience store to be constructed at this corner. It was approved several months back, went through Planning Commission and Village Board, but unfortunately due to COVID, there's been some delays in the review at the other agency levels, specifically county, Cook County, and IDOT. They have 2 access points they need to get temporary access permits for, as well as final engineering approval. So therefore, the village did approve a new policy for foundation-only permits last August to take into consideration properties such as this that may fall into these situations. And in order to protect the village, we felt it necessary to have a policy in place so that we can review these on a case-by-case basis. So the request is the developer has agreed to the terms of the foundation policy, including the required letters of credit for public improvements and any removal of the foundation if the project is not completed. So therefore, the project is really close to getting its full building permit, and this developer is eager to get moving. We feel very confident this project will move forward, and therefore we'd like to bring this to village board for formal adoption of a resolution.
Thanks, Kimberly. Any questions, anyone?
No, I'll just say if we can help this builder along and get them started before winter starts, I think that's a good thing for us to do, and it looks like we've taken all the safeguards, so I'm all for it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Agreed.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, Kristen. Item 6, discuss general liability insurance renewal. Anna, you want to take that one?
Yeah, thanks, Trustee Glatz. So the village's current general liability insurance coverage through the Illinois County's Risk Management Trust expires December 1st of 2020. So our broker, Aligned Mesro, went out and submitted an updated application to ICRMT for renewal pricing. Our general liability insurance covers automobile liability, law enforcement liability, public officials liability, property, workers' compensation, cyber, and crime. So the renewal premium for 2020-2021 was quoted at $810,209. That represents about a 7% increase. While the village had an overall good claims year, for example, our workers' comp went down about 20%. We did see our liability increase 18%. Not necessarily any fault of the village. Again, we had a good claims year, but our brokers have noted that the market is pretty challenging right now given social and economic factors. Other than that, the other largest increase falls under sales tax interruption. Staff reviewed this coverage, and we thought it would be more appropriate to ask our insurance to increase this coverage a bit. So that's why you see an increase there. So really, we're just looking for a decision to renew our, again, insurance with ICRMT for this upcoming policy year.
Thanks. Did we get a COVID credit or something from them?
We did get a COVID credit, yes.
Okay. Was everyone given that?
They did give it to members of the pool. When Andrew and I spoke with our broker, they had mentioned that part of consideration was the amount of time you were in the pool, and then also obviously the size of your town and the impact of COVID, so.
Great. Thanks, Hannah. Any questions, anyone?
Nope.
Nope.
I'll make a motion to move it to the board. I have a second.
Second.
Madam Clerk, you please call the roll?
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item 7, update Oaklawn Water Project. Dave?
Sure, thank you, Trustee Glatz. So tonight, I'm going to give an update on where we're at with the Oaklawn Water Construction Project. There's been a lot that's been happening. The last really big presentation we gave the board was a few years ago. And we also are asking the board to approve some amendments to the agreement that was signed about 7 years ago, which we'll discuss the agenda item after this. So, some of you were here when we had the last update. So, this was actually in April 2017. And so we're gonna again talk about the construction as well as the amendment. So, again, the purpose of this program, when this was started several years ago, was to meet future water demands, provide redundancy at the average flow rate, provide backup power and pumping stations, and address safety concerns and fire flow deficiencies. There was cost increases initially approved in April 2017 to $216 million. One of the things that after some of the initial cost increases came in, we worked on a number of process improvements. We think that has really made the overall working relationship between Oak Lawn and the other communities, as well as the project management, flow much smoother. There's been a number of working groups established. We have committees of professionals now that are reviewing construction change orders, and one of the major priorities of the customer communities was that we asked that we have a third-party engineer review and work alongside the Oak Lawn engineer. And so a few years ago, we did hire Pritzker, who also obviously works for the village. They've really done a good job at reviewing it, and really has saved, I think, the communities certainly a lot more money than what we've had to spend. So here's just some of the project status updates. This is kind of a drawing of the completed and in-work progress. We've basically spent about $143 million that's been completed or under contract. And this next map shows the construction work that's still remaining over the next few years. So a lot of this, again, you're dealing with obviously multiple local governments. We've had to work with ComEd, utilities, Forest Preserve District, and so there's been a lot of really great kind of intergovernmental cooperation, as well as working with utilities. We worked with ComEd to save about $2 million on soil respreading. The Forest Preserve District was one contentious at the time, about 5 years ago, when there was a land use license that they required. We negotiated that. There's paths that they're getting out of this. And we've also worked very closely with IDOT to expedite some of the reviews, which often is a delay on projects of this size. The capital costs. So this is kind of a big picture of the costs. You know, the current estimate without contingencies is roughly about $238 million. This shows, and really there's a couple projects that we're driving the increases. This BP 6A, BP 7A, which we'll talk a little bit on the next slides. So this project, there was a number of cost increases. Tunneling was the big increase. Some of the ComEd requirements for soil disposing, regrading, as well as wetlands and trails added to the cost. The other one, again, bid package 7A, which was the crosstown connection to Booster Station 2. There was some alignments of the bid package due to eliminating risks from the paralleling of pipelines and repair of a pipeline below a wetland, as well as interconnections to an old pipe. The pipe size actually increased significantly. Orland Park is actually incurring about $812,000 of those costs due to the realignment. So it shows a little bit of that. So again, some of these costs, if it's benefiting a specific community, and that was a lot of our negotiations, as with Orland Park, they're paying more than some of the other communities. So one of the things that we've added in here, again, just, I think the feeling was, you know, let's make sure, as we do on our own projects here, let's have a contingency built in, so we're not constantly going back and saying, well, we expected the project to be this. So we had the engineers look at this contingency, and this isn't just a simple contingency where we had a certain percent. It was really based on the risk of the project, how much of the design was completed. And so this took quite a bit of time and wasn't your typical contingency analysis. And this shows some of that work. And as you can essentially see, there's a couple projects that have larger contingencies just based on some of the unpredictability of the various factors of the projects. So the current total project cost with contingencies now is estimated to be $275 million. So we hope we don't go that high, but that is, we think, a reasonable contingency. This pie chart kind of shows where this is a lot of these things are allocated from ComEd issues, regulatory issues and the like. The ComEd is a larger one with some of the pipeline realignment issues with bid package 7A driving a lot of that. And so, again, what we really want to know is, okay, so what's the impact? And so these numbers are, I'm going to emphasize, are something certainly that's part of our whole water rate, but not all of it. So if you look at this chart, Tinley Park is a little over 23% a share. There's a line above it in Tinley Park all, because we also service New Lenox and Mokina. But in terms of the effect on our rate, it's really the Tinley Park only that you have to look at. And so this chart is kind of done a couple ways. This one is one that has essentially, this one assumes that Olympia Fields, Madison, and Country Club Hills do not join the system. So if they do, then because there's a larger number of communities, it's fair to say that our numbers actually would be higher. So this one is the one that is at the 238 million mark without the contingency figures. And as you can see, and again, I know this is hard, this isn't the best thing for a PowerPoint, but the recommended increases in the debt service go from 2024 all the way out to 2048. And it's important to remember, this is, the Oak Lawn water system is one part of our water rate cost. We are still, as we've been talking about the last couple of years, we still need to increase our rates. We've had some large capital expenditures with water meters, obviously, that we're going to have to put into our system, as well as operating costs. But this shows that, the first increase for the debt service would be 2024. Talking with Andrew today, I think our recommendation would be to actually start that a year earlier, in 2023. But then, again, besides that, expect that we will also have to have a discussion within the next year about an additional increase just to deal with some of our other costs outside the Oak Lawn system. So this really shows it, two different ways, one without the contingency, one with the contingency. And again, this is more of our worst case scenario because it assumes that three towns, Olympia Fields, Madison, and Country Club Hills are not in the system. So if they join, then the numbers would actually be lower than this. So that's a lot there. It's kind of a brief summary of what we've been working on. So before we go on to the actual contract changes, I'll ask if there's any questions.
I have none.
Okay. So,
Thank you, Dave.
sure. On the agenda, the board agenda tonight, and this is something all the customer communities, the north and southwest customer communities are being asked to approve, is an amendment to the agreement that was passed several years ago. I will tell you, all the items in here are things that we've actually been talking about for a few years. Many of these things are already in place. The big one, obviously, is authorizing the revenue bonds to pay for the improvements we just discussed. Requires executive consent toward all the remaining bid packages. Creates a customer review committee, which I talked about in the PowerPoint on change orders. allocate some of the cost for two of those bid packages that I discussed to Orland Park. And allows, there's a connection to Palos Hills and a pump station building that's financed as part of these, and again, with an allocation of about 2.66 million to Palos Hills, and basically provides for an equitable return of 10 cents per 1,000 gallons of water, effective January 1st. So that large document that's in the packet, that's really what the changes are. They're really rather minor in nature compared to the original document, which took the village years to negotiate. So if there's not any questions on that, then there should be a motion, I think, to move this to the board agenda, the actual agreement amendment. Yes?
This is Trustee Galante. Just to ask a question, recently there was $7.5 million in reserves that were identified. Is there money that can be allocated before we talk about increasing debt? What about the use of some of those reserves that were identified, for buying purchase land that we're no longer going to be purchasing?
Well, this debt is, again, this is for the water fund, and this is specifically for the Oak Lawn Water Project. So if you're referring to, I think, reserves that we were talking about using out of a different fund for land purchase, no, you really couldn't use those. So that's a different pot of money.
Brad, do you want to add anything to that, or is that good?
No, Dave's got it handled there. I mean, this is what we're talking about here is the debt for the regional water system, which basically we will pay ratably over time along with the other communities that participate in the system.
Thanks. Anything else, Diane?
No, thank you.
Anyone else?
No,
I'll make a motion to
expensive, but
move it to the board.
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll for item 8?
Trustee Berg,
Yes.
Trustee Brady,
Yes.
Trustee Brennan,
Yes.
Trustee Galante,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Glatz,
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 9, discuss IGA between the Village of Tinley and Cook County Department of Transportation for 94th Avenue. So basically, all this is, it's a description to resurface 94th Avenue from 171st to 183rd. Our lobbyist with Cook County was able to allocate $500,000 of the money for this. And we've been in discussion with John Urbanski, Dave, our lobbyist, and Senator Hastings on this project. And we have $500,000. The estimated project is $449,000, which gives John $51,000 remaining funds to use on other roads, Cook County roads in Tinley Park. Is there any questions? I'll make them.
This is Trustee Galante. Could I ask a question?
Sure, go ahead.
This money is for sure, this has already been given to us. It's not something that is a promise that possibly may not come to light in the end.
Dave, you want to?
Well, I mean, it's a grant agreement, so, that's,
It's an intergovernmental
yeah,
governmental
they're
agreement.
committing to doing this by
IGA.
by this agreement, so we want to sign this to make sure that they hold to that, so.
As long as the paperwork's filled out properly, we should be
Yep.
fine, right?
Yep.
Anything else, Dan?
No, thank you.
I'll make a motion to send that to the board. I got a second?
Second it.
Thank you, Bill. Madam Clerk, can you please call a roll?
Trustee Berg,
Yes.
Trustee Brady,
Yes.
Trustee Brennan,
Yes.
Trustee Galante,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Glatz,
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 10, salt contract with Morton Salt. It's $184,950 under budget. The amount required for salt purchase is $325,000. Any questions? I'll make a motion to move it to the board.
Second.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 11, snow cul-de-sacs. So this is a contract for $165,750 with Roisenary Trucking and Excavating to do 252 cul-de-sacs and eyebrows throughout the village of Tinley. The contract has the option of a 2 and 1 year renewal. Any questions? I'll make a motion to move it to the board.
Second.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll for item 11?
Roll call for item 11. Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 12, snow parking lots with Beverly Snow and Ice. Total budget available is $342,720. The lowest responsible bidder for 10 events was $100,350, which is $242,370 less. Are there any questions?
I'll just say, John, thanks for coming under budget for these last 3 items. Appreciate it.
I have just one question. Why did we tie in the 2 snow removal in the same contracts? One for the cul-de-sac and one for the parking lots?
We found in the past it was better for us to split them up based on the requirements of the equipment and the services that were being rendered for the 2 different types of removals.
Thank you.
A lot of contractors will have smaller equipment for parking lots versus the size of equipment they need for the cul-de-sacs.
Makes sense. Thank you.
And also the timing of when we need the services done, the fact that
Okay.
The manpower.
getting the community lots, and parking lots, our parking lots cleared for
Earlier.
community uses and other, and our own uses is more critical than, the cul-de-sacs in the overall scheme of things.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to move it to the board. I have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Cindy. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll for item 12?
Roll call for item 12. Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
yes,
Mayor Pro Tem Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you, Kristen. Item 13, holiday decorations. Well, this is to purchase for the additional holiday ornaments and decorations as needed. The budget available was $35,000. They're in year 3 of their contract, and this will be $32,830.32. They are under budget by $2,169.68, and the contract will be with B&B Holiday Decorating and Displays. Is there any questions?
I would like to see, since we have some leftover, I've noticed that the village never has any decorations. I think it'd be a great idea to have wreaths at least on our 2 outside walls out there.
Donna's writing it down. And you could pick up a wreath at the, they're selling them for the police officers.
Right? If it's the right size. You could put it around the logo, or the seal of the city if you wanted to, or just hang it over it. Just a thought.
Or you could just walk around and put lights on it.
Yes, we could do that too.
I'll make a motion to move this to the board.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Bill. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll on that?
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
yes,
Mayor Pro Tem
Yes.
Glatz. Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 14, holiday events. I will not be able to do that one myself. Donna, could you
do-
fire away on this one?
Absolutely. So we put a plan in front of you to
kind of take a two-pronged approach this holiday season. First one being to create more ongoing programming to sustain our businesses a little bit who are having some challenges downtown. So we're going to try to do some things that are built in over the course of the holiday season. And the other thing is, in the spirit of trying to break our events out a little bit more and spread things out to make them socially distant and friendly, expanding our holiday market weekend to do like a Wednesday to Sunday, potentially ticketing for some of the more popular events so that we can manage the crowds a little bit better. So I outlined that for you. And here, the other thing is the proposal to do a parade of lights, taking a cue from our cruise parades that we did this summer, and potentially taking the show on the road. So we parade around the community instead of gathering thousands of people in our downtown.
Is that it?
I tried to do it quickly.
You summed all that up like that? All these paragraphs?
All that work, come on now.
As always,
Thank you, Donna.
as always, Donna, you and your team do an excellent job with our marketing department. Thank you. The only question or concern, or whatever you want to call it, would be for the parade, would be, just like with the cruise nights. Number one, the cruise nights has worked out phenomenal. I don't think you could have possibly imagined it would turn out so well. It's been huge,
We were pleased, definitely.
and it's definitely been more successful than I thought it would be. I struggle with it for the Christmas parade. I know it's a double-edged sword. If you do it driving through the neighborhoods, you're gonna have some feel that they were left out and it wasn't in their neighborhood. How do you choose where it goes? So I wouldn't want people questioning your route, like some have questioned some of the cruise night routes. And then if you do it on Oak Park Avenue, which is tradition, how do you guarantee that everybody's gonna be spaced out properly? So that's a concern, but to me, it's no different when you go into, some of the establishments or other events, people are close, so, I mean, I struggle with that because you almost should leave it to them. If someone's uncomfortable or, and they don't want to be near people, that's fine. There's always dead spots on the parade where you don't have people, where someone could possibly move or slide down. And, and put it on them to determine if they're uncomfortable, maybe then they don't come. Or because there's always spots, that parade always has a whole bunch of dead spots. You hit Bailey's and Cousins, it's booming. You hit by from Sip Wine all the way down to Durbin's, it's jam-packed.
Our core is most popular.
So if somehow they were able to space it out a little bit more, I don't know. It's a tough decision.
I hear you. We struggled with it too. I mean, we love a good parade. This community loves their parades. Our concern was with being able to police that, so people felt safe. We have sort of raised the bar, as far as some of the feedback we're getting is even amongst our neighboring communities, people are really, giving us kudos for the fact that we're taking that extra effort to make sure people are safe. So that was where our struggle was, is, we really can't control it and police it very well. It is outside, though. Masks would be required, again, to the point that we can police that and manage that. But we could do it outside. It's just that we can't police it very well.
But it
We
could
could do
be-
it in the downtown, like we normally do.
It could possibly be the same thing, though, when you're doing it down the streets. People are gonna drive to wherever they live, to certain areas. They're gonna park on the side streets, and they're gonna walk, and they could be gathering and being in groups of people as well for parts of the parade route.
I will tell you, our thought with that was to stop at more of the areas where we have larger parking areas. So the schools, the train stations, and that type of thing, so people could gather, kind of a little bit like the drive-in movies have been, where people could come and be in their vehicles and wait for the parade to pass. So that was kind of some of the thought process there, so that we're still spreading the people out in the community, but we would, encourage them to come and make a night out of it in their vehicle, and wait for the parade to pass. Not the same thing, but, yeah, those were the ideas that we had come up with, so I appreciate the feedback.
Yes, I don't know.
Well, I like the idea that you just said about having them in different parking lots, churches, schools, whatever they could drive through. some of our other McCarthy parks that come across 167th Street and around there, because absolutely, you cannot control the people to turn around and say you have to have masks. I mean, as everything Mike just said is so very true, from Cousins on down, or Bailey's on down to the VFW Hall, it's jammed right before Tian's and Ed and Joe's, you know, and it makes people, oh, you gotta put your mask on, everybody. I just dealt with 1,200 people voting at the township, and it's amazing how many people we have to tell, wear a mask, stay 6 feet apart and everything. And we have signs, we have it painted on the sidewalk, spots 6 feet apart. Do they read it? Do they listen? No. What do you think you're gonna do with seeing Santa Claus coming down the aisle? I would rather go through the neighborhood, through those areas, churches, parking lots, et cetera, shopping mall, do something like that. I'd rather see that than have them clustered together on Oak Park Avenue. My thought.
Thank you.
Bill, you got anything to add?
I mean, I struggle with it because it's, you know, it is difficult to maintain, but, I feel, I don't know how well received it would be. Like you said, going through the neighborhoods, you know, people probably, you know, be upset if they weren't essentially picked or their street wasn't picked or whatnot, but.
All right, if I could interrupt, exactly what Don just said, and having the big areas, then it's in nobody's neighborhood. It's down a street, it's in a church, it's in a school parking lot, it's a shopping center, it's whatever. So you couldn't have people upset about that because it's a public thoroughfare, it's a public area, a meeting where they could do it. I mean, you got Moraine Valley to go through there, you have other, you know, St. Stephen's, St. George parking lots, whatever that people could go to.
Well, you will be
have to
going
work
through
on the
neighborhoods
routes.
still, correct?
We would have to route it out.
Yeah,
Sure,
so
we'd have
it
some, but
eventually- it
the idea
will-
is to make it more of the routes of the larger parking lots so that we could cover more people.
Well, another thing too is what about participation as far as, I mean, because a lot of these groups that are in the parades are, some are walkers, and if we're extending
Yeah,
the
it
route, then
couldn't
we're
be
not
a
gonna
walking
have.
group at all.
you know,
Even
so it's just
Santa
gonna
would
be
probably
car-
have to have some kind of dome over him or something. You're going down Harlem Avenue or
Snow
whatever,
globe.
45 miles an hour.
Right. Well, I'm
That's
just, no,
challenges.
that's my question, so, I mean, do you think the participation would even be, you know, would that be?
We
would
talked
it
to
be
some of our
sufficient?
businesses just to ask them, you know, what their thoughts were. And, you know, it would be more of a goodwill gesture on their part, no
Okay.
doubt. I mean, they see it as that exposure and kind of a goodwill initiative for the holidays.
All right. Good.
Yeah, I struggle with this one just because I think the types of floats that people like to see, we'd struggle to get them to get to all these different areas quickly so that we can have everybody enjoy this stuff. I really think that folks should be able to spread out on Oak Park Avenue and manage their own risk tolerance towards these types of events. And then at the exact same time, I think we live stream this event every single year. And so there's a participation aspect from home that could be encouraged. And maybe we take a couple parking lots along Oak Park Avenue and have cars only, where they at least get to park right up against Oak Park Avenue and watch it go by. I know it's not gonna get the numbers that we get at all these other parking lots, but I think it might still get the floats that we're looking for as well. So it's kind of where I'm at.
Kristen, you want to add anything?
No, I have nothing to add, thank you.
Yeah, like I said earlier, there's no right or wrong answer.
Right.
Yeah, I know,
You know,
it's tough.
each way has its both pros and cons.
Mhm.
It's a great idea to do what you're doing, but also the other, like, what, Trustee Mueller and Brennan said, being on Oak Park Avenue. I struggle with that too, because I don't know, how are we gonna police the areas where you do the drive-by, you know, and where people are gathering, whether it be parking lots or something. Either way, somewhere along that route, you're gonna have the same policing issues. Less density, because you won't have, you know, what,
Right.
1,000 people in a matter of a block and a half, but you're still gonna have people close. I don't know. At the end of the day, I think it's up to staff to make that decision, but I would also prefer just because I don't know how we could police it. Like Mike said, I would prefer it behind Oak Park Avenue, but at the end of the day, I think, you guys should make the decision. But I would like to stay the traditional way and just, if someone's uncomfortable, they have that option to stay home. No one's forcing them to go. Like I said, we have all these dead spots. So I don't know. It's just, it's not easy. It's not an easy decision for you. I get it.
Yeah, there's no perfect answer, obviously, but
So, Diane?
Yeah, like, same thing, I know it's a hard decision. The Christmas parade is a shorter parade. I mean, we don't usually, it's much smaller. It only goes down a few blocks. I just wonder, I know, companies have participated in it before, will they really want to be driving around all the neighborhoods, more than doing their normal down
Right.
the street? So that's something I guess you guys would have to discuss with them. Yeah, unless you can do some kind of drive-in type of thing where people are driving, staying in their cars. That's the only other idea I could think of.
Cindy?
Well, I really like the cruise idea, and I think that maybe we, post-COVID, could continue that for the cruise nights. It seems to be, I think that people like it. As far as the, I think it's totally cool to have it on Oak Park Avenue, but maybe some way to have a drive up. If there are parking lots, people could stay in their cars. And it's going to be cold. Everyone's wearing a mask anyway, and scarves and gloves and whatnot too. So watch it be 60 that day. But there probably is some particulars that we could work out. Like where is parking, the roller rink maybe, a few spots that are bare, like Michael was suggesting, that we could maybe figure out something in order for people to do a drive-up parade. Stay in your car. It's I don't know, but like, and the risk is yours if you choose to get out and stand on the side. I mean, we don't pass out candy. It is a short parade. I think most people are outside for candy, a lot of kids anyway, and if that part of it's gone, it may not hold its charm for them either, so, yeah, it's a thinker. So I'm not really sure which direction to go with that for all intents and purposes here, but.
It's been warm in years past. We've gotten that one-off year where it's been unseasonably warm.
And we had 3 years ago, the blizzard.
We had a blizzard,
had
that one
extremes on either end.
giant
for sure.
snowflakes like pancakes coming on us.
So-
So,
Yeah.
Yep.
So unfortunately for you, Donna, it seems like everyone's split, and there's great pros and cons for both ways, so
Well,
maybe
we
your
would
team
be
and
willing
Dave
to
and
give it a
everyone, you
try.
guys-
I mean, it would be a participate at your own risk situation. Like you suggested, we don't know, we certainly don't have a crystal ball to determine the participation, but to your point, people can watch it on TV if they want, and they would have to self-manage. We were talking about that same thing even for the tree lighting ceremony. One thought was to move it to Wednesday, so that maybe it's slightly less popular of an evening, but for that event, now, that event we see maybe 500 or 600 people versus our parades, we see thousands and thousands on a good weather night, but allowing people to self-manage for that as well, and just, to the point Cindy made, at least this time of year, people are comfortable wearing masks, they are not overheating or whatever else, so it's become our new way of life around here, so. And then with Santa, too, we are working on a plexiglass setup for him, and also giving some thought to ticketing, like I said earlier, that, and maybe a carriage ride / Santa visit combo, so.
So why don't you just, talk with staff and police chief, Chief Reader.
sure.
And Dave, and you guys kind of come up with a plan, whatever you guys decide, that's, what we'll roll with. It's just,
Got it,
everything that everyone set up here is right in their own way.
got it,
So.
I heard you all, thank you very much.
Well, if you hope for cold weather, everybody be wearing a scarf anyway.
Scarves, masks, and hat will be
That's
no
right.
problem, right? All right, thank you very much.
thank you.
Item 15, good, I'm not going to say some of these names. Who's going to take this one? Sister City, Poland.
Trustee Brady's got the pronunciation.
Okay, go ahead. Item 15 is yours.
They have been working on, the Sister Cities Commission, to get another city, and they have picked this town that's in Poland. It's Nowe Sędzia, and it's a sister city to Tinley Park. And we're hoping to, I've been hoping to push the idea of reconnecting the one that we have in Ireland, but we seem to have a problem with that one, they tell me. But this is just a proclamation to establish this new sister city in Poland.
Fair enough. Any questions?
Dobrze.
Dziękuję.
You need a motion for that then, Dave?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion. Have a
I'll second it.
Madam Clerk, could you call the roll for Sister City, Poland?
Roll call for item number 15. Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 16, executive session recording review. Dave, you taking that one?
I can, yeah.
I don't know who else would take it.
Yeah, so this is, really the clerk's office policy that we've had a policy informally for a number of years, and I think there was a suggestion that we look at trying to document the policy, and so this formally puts in writing essentially if an elected or appointed official wishes to review recordings of closed session minutes. So there's so essentially the request from the elected officials must go to the clerk, deputy clerk, manager, and village attorney. After approval by the clerk, the elected official then would contact the deputy clerk to set up an appointment to listen to the recordings. The recordings would be done in the conference room, vote conference room, in the presence of deputy clerk and any elected official of the public body. And the door would be kept open, and no phones or recording devices would be allowed. And the elected official would have their own headset. And so that's essentially the gist of it. I mean, the guidance for listening to executive session minutes is really guided by state statute, and this is something that we essentially developed, I think, to put this down in a policy.
I think it's excellent, just from my military intelligence experience, to have not only the deputy clerk in the room, but an extra elected official. I think that's an extra layer of security that is a good thing to build into it.
Great. Anyone else?
No, that's great. You'll be responsible for that. Thank you.
I agree. I think it's a good thing to have in writing, so everybody is on the same page and there's no confusion. One question is, eventually, we release the executive session tapes. So this is just for ones that haven't been released? Or
Correct. This is for ones that the attorneys have deemed still contain sensitive information.
I think this is a great policy. I think it's, great undertaking for Kristen's office at this point. I think it's, smart. So I think this is something that we should definitely.
Well, it's not my office, though. The attorneys actually, found the statutes and the pertinent information. But,
Okay.
Yeah, so since the policy that previous clerks were maintaining was essentially in conformance with that statute, the attorneys didn't have to craft an ordinance. It's going to be a resolution.
Okay. Very good.
Excellent.
Wonder if we should have added something in here about executive session stuff being released outside of the meetings.
Well, you would hope that all stays where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make a motion. Have a second?
Second.
Second.
Sorry.
Madam Clerk, you please call the roll?
Roll call for item 16, executive session recording review policy. Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. Item 17, electronic participation. Dave?
Sure, so this is an amendment to our current remote participation policy, which, as you know, since the COVID crisis started, we've allowed that, though obviously at this point, we're all back here at Village Hall. But this specifically addresses the issue of executive session and requires that the board would actually have to approve if somebody, if there was an elected official that wanted to participate in closed session through remote means. So again, we have had some challenges with information that has been disseminated from closed session prematurely, and so at this point, we just want to make sure that if, obviously the desire is to have everyone here. If there is a situation where that's not possible, the board would specifically have to approve allowing them to participate remotely. And obviously, they would have to notify us before the agenda went out, so.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So if somebody here on this board gets COVID and we can't, or don't want to be in the same room, or they don't want to be in the same room, so they would have to go to the board vote for them to be able to participate?
Correct,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
So is this in agreement with the current orders of the governor, or is this different? Are you following the same thing that he's got in place?
Well, the governor's orders allows remote participation, and we're not disallowing remote participation. We're just saying if you're going to do that, you just have to be approved by the board ahead of time.
From an information security perspective, it's certainly a very weak point. I mean, I don't think it's good security, but this is just my personal opinion, to allow people to partake in a confidential discussion remotely. We don't know if that person remotely, I mean, not that somebody would do this, but it could be recorded remotely and disseminated, so it's a big security risk in my opinion, so.
Especially after the thing with the Tribune. He had information that wasn't even,
Absolutely.
Wasn't even given out
Wasn't
during the
even
executive session.
released.
It's crazy.
people requested stuff, and the next thing we know, you talk about it, and then it's released
Who's
to the
that, Mike?
Tribune.
Who was
Yeah.
that asked?
I
Do
don't
you
know.
know somebody
No.
that asked for something that gave it out?
I
I
do.
mean, because, no, I'm trying to understand, because you put a lot out there. And you should just be honest. If you know somebody
Sure.
gave it, you should talk about it. We should all know. We should all know who you
And
believe did
that's
this.
the whole purpose that this is on here, because people, for whatever reason, to hurt a developer, took information out of a room that was discussed in here privately,
Mhm.
and released it to people, so if,
So what?
so you're okay, so.
No, I'm not okay with that, but what I don't understand is there's information that newspaper had that we never even talked about in closed session. So where did that come from?
I'm not
Where
gonna
did the information come from, the other, that they were already working with the other town? And, I mean, there was information in there I didn't know.
Dave, was that stuff discussed? Thank you.
Yes.
It was discussed in
And
a
was it
meeting I was in.
And was it requested? Yes.
Do you guys, when you have your private meetings that don't happen in the executive session, do those get taped? Are those taped? When you're meeting outside of the executive session?
When we say we.
Well, when you meet with the developer, the mayor,
do we
Mr.
tape
Glock,
them?
trustee
Do we tape
Glock.
meetings with developers? No.
So that information that takes place doesn't get recorded. It just comes back to us. in the
Correct.
board. Okay.
Correct. And the information in that article were things that,
That you
Had-
gave him, though. I mean, if I understand this correctly, you told me that you and the mayor had spoken with the, when I called you and said, Dave, I don't even know some of this stuff, you said that was released by you guys because you felt that once the newspaper had this information, you might as well give them the correct information. Is that true?
so all the information that was in the articles were things that the board was aware of. So again, I'm not I do not want to get into, you know, what was said in closed session or not, because that is confidential, but he had a number of items and pieces of information from closed session. And clearly he didn't have the whole picture, and so yes, I filled in some of the blanks to give him the whole picture, but he had a good part of the closed session from somewhere, I don't know where.
And we know that it came out of somebody on this board?
I do not know where it came from, I don't know. Yeah.
If I could just make sure we're crystal clear. Diane, you just said that this is information you didn't have, this is information that we never discussed.
I didn't say all this information. I said there was items in that newspaper article that was news to me. Absolutely.
Dave, all that stuff was discussed in
Yes.
executive
Okay,
session.
can you show me? Did you give
And
it to me
did-
in writing? I mean,
I'll-
You were at
then,
the meeting.
then we
I'll-
should
I'll-
probably
You were at the
listen to the
meeting.
tape.
And
We'll
Dave,
listen to
did
the
anyone on
executive
this
session.
board specifically request this information?
Request which information?
The information that the developer had?
Well, it was all shared with everyone at various, we had multiple discussions on this thing, and I'd be glad to certainly go through all the minutes and memos and tapes, and there was nothing in that article that should have been a surprise to anybody on the board.
Thank you.
Shouldn't.
And
Yeah, and maybe it would be a good time to
And
try
it's-
out a new policy to
well,
listen to the executive
Jake, you missed
session.
it. You walked in, she was asking if meetings that you have with the developer or myself or anyone are taped.
Well, I mean, are
No,
they
they're not
recorded? Is
taped.
it public information?
They're
I
not
mean,
public,
that's what
they're
was
not
my
public
question.
meetings.
So I don't know if you want to
No, the
reply
answer to that would be
Thank
no.
you. Yeah, I
It's-
got the answer. I was just curious if it was taped and it's public information. It just seems like if we're talking about things in private meetings, I don't know who else was in that meeting. I don't think it's right that we are putting it on somebody on this board, leaked information.
He's the mayor. If a developer calls
I'm
and
not
asks to
saying
have a meeting.
he shouldn't have meetings.
You just said that they
I
should,
did
the
not
private meetings, they
say
should
that,
be taped.
Mr. Glatz.
You just said
No, you're
that.
putting words in my mouth.
Well, you could go home and watch the
No, I'm
tape.
not gonna go home.
You
I'm just
said
gonna
if he has a tape.
repeat what I was trying to say that you cut me off, is do we tape those meetings? So it's part of the public record, what was said in those meetings, was my question. It was a question. And I have the right to ask a question, I believe, as a trustee. I don't think it's right that we're putting it out on social media that the Bobbsey twins are out giving out information. It's wrong, and it's a lie, and I take offense to it.
Well, that's news to me. I find that
You're
very
lucky.
sexist.
You're lucky
That the-
you don't read.
Are you
the social
referring
media
to
posts.
myself and Diane? Is that what they're saying?
Yeah, I can share it with you.
Very misogynist and sexist. Back to this policy, maybe we can get rid of the cell phones on the dais that we all have right here too, as a next policy?
That's a great idea.
I think the bottom
Well,
line is, I
Jake,
mean, I
you
think
have
this is
anything
a
about your
good,
meetings?
a good ordinance.
Confused.
Okay, so am I.
I think this is a good ordinance. I think this, you know, this is something that, this could kill deals for our village, could, you know, could prevent revenues from coming in, and I think, you know, we should do everything we can to protect these deals.
Absolutely, we should.
And, you know, I mean, with remote participation, I think what Kristen said was absolutely correct. I think that, we don't know how it could be disseminated, where it could go, and how it could negatively affect our village. So, I don't see any reason why this shouldn't be moved forward.
Anyone else?
Chairman, if I-
I'd have to agree.
Jake, go ahead.
Just for a point of clarification, just so that maybe attacks and targets could be eliminated for a moment. Were there other individuals in the meeting prior to that article that was released that were on the phone, like staff members or anybody else that was part of the executive session?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not, just so for the public, we're not talking about just the elected officials, right? We're talking about other individuals too?
Yeah, I mean, trustee Galante asked me if it was an elected official, I can't say that. I
Okay.
don't know. There was other people, so.
All right, fair enough. I don't disagree with the policy. I mean, I think it's a part of your oath of office, is it keep the integrity of the elected official and moral and ethical behavior. If there's an additional step that we put into ordinance to not allow for something to take place. I don't see why we shouldn't consider it. My only argument would be that, you know, the government of the state of Illinois has put out specific mandates regarding Open Meetings Act, and I think we've been following them to date. So that's all I have to say. I mean, I'm one way or the other. Those are what make a difference to me. I would say that the mention from Trustee Berg about cell phones and interactions of personal devices while you're conducting business up here, I think everyone just saw me step out of the meeting. I had to field the call for work. But, you know, outside of that, I think it's not a bad thing to consider as well. So I'll leave it at that.
I'll make a motion to move it to the board. Have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, you please call the roll.
Roll call for item number 17, Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 18, on-base upgrade.
Yes, thanks, Trustee Glatz. This is a request to purchase some upgrades to our on-base system. This is a previously budgeted item that we had, and it's just over the 20,000 threshold, so we brought it to the committee for approval. But this was a already pre-budgeted item, and it's needed upgrades that we need to make for our on-base agenda system.
Any questions?
Looks good, Pat.
I'll make a motion. to-
Second?
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Roll call for item 18, upgrade to on-base software. Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 19. Jake, do you want to take these?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is to discuss liquor and video gaming for Sunday hours. I know this has been a topic of conversation for a number of years, per several requests from various establishments throughout the community. So Hannah, do you want to kind of give, I think everybody has a memo generalizing what it is that we're requesting. I'd basically be open to discussion on this, but if there are any specific questions to ask Hannah about the request, and then we could kind of go from there. So I'll open it up to Chairman if you want to run through the board. I don't know if there's specific questions that anybody has.
Yeah, go ahead.
If
Go ahead.
you don't mind me just adding too, so, you know, as the mayor had mentioned, that, you know, over the years, there's been several requests that just come in for, you know, Sunday liquor hours to be, a little bit earlier. Right now, they stand at noon, except for our golf course, that is 8 a.m. So I did some research, of various, comparables in other towns in the area. You know, the village, we are one of the latest, in terms of Sunday liquor sale hours. You know, like I said, we're at noon. A lot of other towns, you see maybe 9, 10, 11 a.m. So really just putting it out there for discussion to see what the board would be comfortable with. Couple things to consider. Right now, as it stands, liquor and video gaming hours are tied, so that's just something to take in consideration, as to how early you want these hours to be. There's also a couple different types of liquor classifications. So, for example, retail sales, some towns have their retailed packaged liquor, so liquor stores or you know, a Jewel, things of that nature. Sometimes those sales start earlier, and then bars and restaurants start an hour or two after that. And then only other consideration, which we could talk about tonight or another time, would be truck stop and video gaming cafe hours. I think there needs to be a little clarification at some point on the Sunday hours for that. So really just looking for direction, so that way, you know, by the next meeting, we can get an ordinance drafted, so that way we can address this topic if the board wishes to do so.
Thanks, Hannah.
You want to go first, Jake?
Yeah, so I don't know specifically if it mentioned in the memo that my position on it was, I feel that we'd be okay moving to 11 o'clock for several reasons besides comparables. As I mentioned earlier, requests have come in throughout the years from various restaurants and bar establishments in town. Specifically now with COVID and operating hours amongst these businesses, they're trying to capture a larger audience throughout the day. Sporting events are starting earlier, You could talk about soccer matches in Europe, those start at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. Obviously, I wouldn't be considering that right now. They have an opportunity to apply for a special event for that, but, or a special permit for liquor on that. But generally speaking, I would say that for brunches, you know, things like that, Bloody Mary bars, those typically take place at the 11 o'clock hour, shortly thereafter. So I don't think it's an unreasonable request. I think it's something that aligns us with other communities and gives our businesses a competitive edge to compete with other towns surrounding them. So that's my general.
So there's 4 points here. We'll just go point by point.
Sure.
I guess I'll go, do you have any recommendations from what you've been looking at, Hannah?
I mean, I really don't think the board can go wrong. I think, you know, Mayor Vandenberg makes some fair points with, you know, how he feels about this and whatnot, so, I think moving it earlier, whether it's an hour or 2 hours or so, I think it's the right move to do. I don't think we should necessarily stay at noon based on what we see and, again, the different events that occur earlier on Sundays now and COVID business hours expansion, et cetera, so.
Yeah, we have, it shows on here, we have 6 places that either start at 7 or earlier, which is Frankfurt, Naperville, Schaumburg, Streamwood, or I'm sorry, strike that, Westmont, Wheaton, and Woodridge, which is 6 a.m. Most of them are all pretty comparable in size. Most of the people go there way before that anyways when there's games. For Sundays, just for regular places, I'd have, what did we give, Jake or Hannah, do you remember what we gave the Odyssey?
8 a.m. for the golf course.
8 a.m. just for the golf course, not the
Correct, just for the
banquets.
golf course.
Right.
And what do we give?
Truck stop?
No, we gave it for the golf course. Did we change the sweet spot? I don't remember.
No,
No.
just
So
for the golf
just,
course.
it was just a golf course.
Yeah, just so they could serve.
Correct.
On the course.
Yeah, I'd be fine with 9 o'clock. It's up to you guys. I guess we'll go around the board. Trustee Brady?
I'd be fine with 9, I agree.
Trustee Brennan?
9 a.m. is fine.
Trustee Mueller?
I was a 10 a.m. guy, but I'll be fine with 9.
Trustee Galante?
Yeah, I would think, you know, like, I was thinking 10 a.m. too, but 9 a.m. is, don't have a big
Trustee
issue with that.
Trustee Byrd?
That's up to the local liquor commissioner, Mayor Vandenberg.
Okay.
So you're abstaining from that?
I abstain.
Okay, understood.
And if I could just get a point of clarification, that's across the board to keep all other liquor sales, whether it's a bar or retail, at either 9 or 10 a.m. then, correct?
For bar or retail? Correct. So we'll do 9 o'clock? So we had what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people that were for 9? How do you want to handle that?
Well, I mean, if it's the consensus of the board, morally, I'm not okay with it, but if that's the consensus of the board, I have no problem considering it.
Okay.
Well, this was just a point of clarification. This would be like for restaurants that want to have mimosas on their buffet at 9 o'clock in the morning or whatever,
Yes.
you know. Okay.
Like the whistle, like Jake was saying Bloody Mary, or someone said Bloody Mary.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
my understanding is that the Sundays, particularly during heavy sports seasons, they're trying to encourage couples to come out, and if you could bring out a Bloody Mary bar, that may entice the spouse to come along with the husband and watch a football game, right? I mean, I think that's generally what the concept has been all along. 9 o'clock is early. I don't foresee there to be a lot of sporting events that early in the morning, but again, to answer your question though, for the brunches that are specific for mimosas and whatnot, those businesses could petition for a special event license to allow for that. So if they're doing it for Mother's Day or any specific holiday that would encourage people to come out earlier, they have an opportunity to do so through that avenue.
But doing it this way just makes it easier for the businesses. They don't have to go through that procedure. Not many people are going to be doing it, but if they do, they don't have to go to Hannah or the mayor for that license.
And just to be clear, that is concurrent with video gaming then as well, correct?
That was what I was just
So
gonna add.
we're all okay with turning machines on earlier then as well?
Right.
Hannah, I believe you have direction, then we'll go ahead and amend,
Sure.
thank you.
Second point, you want to take that one, Hannah?
That covered points 1, 2, and 3 then, so 9 a.m. for all liquor, keep it in conjunction with video gaming. Really, the only other point is clarification on Sunday hours for a truck stop and/or video gaming cafe. Per the state gaming act, technically, truck stops are allowed to operate 24/7. Right now, they can operate until noon on Sundays, so just wanted to bring that point to the board, see if they had any desire to change that or not.
Okay.
Well, it would be moved to 9 AM now. If the direction is 9, it would go to 9, so just wanted to make that point.
Unless the truck stops are different.
Unless the board chooses to make it different.
Yeah. Do you want to go first, Jake?
Well, I mean, I already, my position was all along 11, but since the board is directed 9, I think that that would make sense to make it concurrent amongst the liquor classes. Not only an administrative position, but also an enforcement position. It's just easier to manage.
Yeah, for the truck stops, like Hannah just said, they can go 24/7 anyways. How many do we have?
One with potential of more.
Potential of more. Yeah,
There's one current, there's one being built, and I believe that
There will be an item
another
on the next board meeting.
facility is requesting that over the next year or so.
Yeah.
yeah, for truck stops, what I don't like is that the gaming is tied to the liquor. Is there a way to separate the gaming from the liquor so they're two separate, or no? Do they have to be together?
I think the state requires it.
I
The
don't.
pouring aspect of it?
Brad, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't have to be tied to liquor. I can
I'd feel
double
more
check.
I'd feel more comfortable double down.
With the exception of a truck stop.
Right,
I'd feel more comfortable double checking on that before we give any type of opinion on it.
yeah. I think for video gaming cafes, things of that nature, there's some exceptions, but, right.
If we're
Because-
considering a path of 24/7 for truck stops, I just want to go ahead and, for the record, there's been plenty of pushback specifically from our residents regarding that. The petitioner in the audience could attest to this. It was a negotiation when we were discussing the allowance of the truck stop on Harlem Avenue, and they were gracious enough to agree to the hours that we had allowed at that time. I would strongly caution the board from considering that at this time. I think it opens up Pandora's box, in my own opinion.
I thought when we originally discussed the truck stop, we discussed 7 to 2.
Not on Sundays, I do not believe.
Do you remember, Lyman?
I think going back to October of last year, there was discussion about tying the video gaming and the truck stops to the liquor sales, similar to what you have with the bars and restaurants. The state doesn't require that. The state allows gaming in a truck stop 24/7. You don't even have to have liquor in the truck stop to get the gaming. But, you know, we came forward, we said, yeah, in concept, we're fine with that, but there were no hours established for the liquor sales for the UV license for the gaming and the truck stop. And we were under the impression that gaming was going to be allowed, tied into the liquor license, but it was going to be from 6 a.m. till whatever your closing hours are typically for the packaged liquor sales, which I believe is 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock under your ordinance. So, you know, then all of a sudden we're confronted with the situation where, well, we can't open until noon on Sunday, can't sell liquor till noon on Sunday, so therefore we can't do video gaming until noon on Sunday. So I would like to see the board make some kind of a distinction between truck stop and your typical restaurant and bar, because the state differentiates those. The state allows 24-hour gambling in the truck stop, but only allows gambling in the restaurants and bars during the hours that liquor is actually sold under the local liquor ordinance. And as was mentioned, you've got a number of communities in the south suburban area that allow you to sell on Sunday much before noon. So, you know, it's something hopefully the board can come to grips with and make some distinction between a truck stop, which is a different animal than a restaurant and a bar. Leave that up to the board's discretion, but I think it's I think it's a valid point to differentiate it because the state does. The state, when they set up the video gaming ordinance, differentiated between restaurants and truck stops, bars and truck stops. You know, so I don't think there'd be any conflict with state law if you set the hours earlier. We're willing to go along with liquor sales hours, but we think in our situation with a truck stop that the liquor sales hours should be earlier in the day, certainly not noon on Sunday.
Can you do two things for me? Can you clarify, you said that a truck stop is a different animal. Can you explain what that means, please?
I'm sorry, what?
You mentioned that a truck stop is a different animal. Can you explain what that means?
Well, it's treated differently under the state legislation than a bar and a restaurant. A bar and a restaurant, the gaming is specifically tied to the hours of liquor sales, and you have to have liquor sales to qualify for the gaming. In a truck stop, you don't have to have liquor sales at all to qualify for gaming. You're allowed gaming 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Right, because they're targeting truckers who obviously are not going to be drinking if they're coming in to take a rest, and they can't consume alcohol.
I don't know what the state's reasoning was to
That would make the most
differentiate, but they
rational
did make that differentiation.
Truck stop has a different benchmark for criteria.
How
Right.
many establishments are,
On gallons of fuel.
on
Right.
the fuel, diesel fuel, correct?
Right.
How many establishments currently run by Mr. McKen? How many establishments currently run by Mr. McHenry are 24/7?
How many
How many of
established?
his truck stop establishments are 24/7 gaming?
Probably all of them.
10 out of how many, sir?
Out of how many?
10 out of 10? 10 out of 10. Well, excluding this one, right?
Right, 9 out of 10.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm personally, I do think they should be separated. I don't think they should be treated the same. But I'm also not in favor of 24/7. And I think you mentioned, you said 6 to 2. I think six is a little too early myself. I don't know what the board thinks. I'd be fine with 7, but I think 24 or 6 or anything less than that, I think is too much. Anything to get under the 20 hours, I'd be fine. And the
Right.
only reason it is because on the Sunday, there's less people in the store. So if there's a couple people, 1 or 2 people in there playing the games, you know, does it make it safer for the workers? Possibly,
Yeah.
because there's more people in there. You know, they may go down the street to the Speedway instead of stopping there. I don't know, but,
Right, correct.
I mean, that may be a question.
But,
better
and that's
to
why I
ask.
say, you know, it's up to your discretion how you want to treat it, but I think there is a difference between what the legislature in Springfield intended between a truck stop and a bar or a restaurant. So, you know, whether it's 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever the start time would be, you know, that's a matter of discussion, but the state does allow it 24/7 on the gaming.
Okay.
Who manages, when they designate a fueling station as a truck stop, who follows and manages the amount of diesel fuel that's sold per month to designate that as a truck stop?
I think that's reported, what, on a monthly basis, Lynn?
There's state inspections that come out and they audit our books, and then we have to supply our sales to them. There's no set schedule to it. It probably happens twice a year that we have to show them the volume of fuel that we sell.
So they do it on a biannual basis of some sort? Is that what you're suggesting?
It seems like it's twice a
Okay.
year that they come out and check that.
Can that report be shared with the village so that we can keep record of that as well?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you
Thank
stay
you.
there, Lyman, a sec. Chief Walsh, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, will that change, in your opinion? So say if there's a couple people in there extra at night playing, will that change the safety of the store? Will that make it a little safer with, if someone would come in with more people being in the store compared to not being there, in your opinion?
I would say absolutely. We've been very fortunate, or maybe just lucky, that we've had 0 problems overnight with
Better knock on wood.
with the gaming.
You better knock on wood.
Okay.
You were asking the police chief
Yes.
that question.
Chief, I was
Oh, sorry.
asking. Yeah, sorry.
always been my belief that if there's more people in there, it is safer because the criminal element's less apt to try to commit some crime. So the more, the better.
And how many, one of the three, you know, how many blocks away is that Speedway? Is it Speedway or Shell? What's the one just to the south of you?
I don't know.
Speedway, and it's about 3 blocks.
Speedway, 3 or 4 blocks.
And they don't have gaming, do they?
No.
No, they do not.
So if they did have the gaming, and there were a couple more people in there, you think someone, according to your experience, you think they would be more apt to pass that one by and go to the Speedway, Chief?
As far as, I think people are opportunists. They're usually the one that's closest to the expressway is the one that usually gets hit. But if there are, the more people that are in there, the less apt they are. It doesn't mean that they're not going to. But when people are in there, it seems like that it's safer. Most of the, my experience, most of the places have been hit that I've responded to. It's because there was just the clerk in there or somebody like that, and that's when they get hit.
So it'll also increase the employees' safety.
Pardon me?
It'll also, sorry. So you think it'll also increase the employee safety as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's up to, unless you guys have any questions, I'm not in favor of 24/7. I'm not in favor of 6, what Lyman mentioned. I'd be fine with lowering it 2 hours to 7, since it's Sunday morning and late for someone to be in there with them, but I can't justify 24, so I don't know where you guys are at. I'd be comfortable with 7.
I'm okay with the 9 for right now, and then I think you had said that we were gonna look at this anyway. I think we could start that process and look at it some more.
I'm not for 24/7, absolutely not.
So what would you look for?
I would go for that 9.
Bill?
In a perfect world, I think if we could delineate the liquor licenses, that would be even better. I'm okay with the 7. I mean, if it's just a truck stop, I think I'd even be okay with the 24-hour because of the safety aspect. That Jake made a great point. These guys can't even, they don't need the liquor license there because they can't have any alcohol in their system anyway, so it's, otherwise they lose their license, so, with the CDL requirements, so I think, increasing the safety aspect is to me, it's I'd even be okay with that, if we could delineate the difference between the truck stops,
Yeah,
but,
I do think we need to separate them, but.
so.
Diane?
I would say, I think keeping everything the same at 9 for liquor sales in Tinley Park is early enough. I thought that there was an agreement with the neighbors that was made at one of the meetings when they were coming here that it was gonna be midnight, that they would shut that off, but, maybe that's changed.
I'd have to go back and look at the specific notes on it, but as I mentioned earlier, I mean, there was negotiations had on both sides. I mean, to weed into the specifics on it, I don't have them in front of me to give you an accurate answer on that. But Hannah or I could get that over to you.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure we don't, didn't make an agreement with those neighbors and everybody was, went away expecting it to be.
I don't disagree with you. And then abstaining, right?
Mm-hmm. And that's not a vote.
So I think there's direction on that. I think 9 o'clock is to keep them concurrent again, amongst the rest of the liquor license holders. And if you want to continue or share some ideas with Hannah on how you think that we should delineate the classifications, I think it's worth looking into. And we're talking about a difference of 2 hours at this point, so so long that we're not talking 24/7, I guess is the question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Anyone else? So what do you want a motion for 9 o'clock then? For truck stops, Jake?
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion for 9 o'clock for truck stops, Sunday hours.
And other business, other bars and restaurants, right? So it's not just the truck stops.
So it's gonna be 9, I'll make a
all
motion
liquor
to make
sales.
it 9 o'clock across the board for now.
Correct.
You're gonna work with staff and trustee Mueller on delineating
Yep.
the difference. You have a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Berg.
Abstain.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 20, chronic nuisance property ordinance. Chief, are you taking this one or Dave?
It was requested to be tabled, wasn't it?
We are gonna table this one if I may, trustee Glatz.
Okay.
We're gonna look at it a little bit further,
Yeah.
and we'll have it ready for the next meeting.
Okay.
It wasn't ready for the board tonight anyhow, so we were going to pass it for the next cow in the next board meeting, if that's okay.
Perfect.
I'll
Whatever you
table
want,
it to
Chief.
the next meeting.
I'll second it. Madam Clerk, you call the roll?
Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Thank you. Item
22.
Item 21, public comment. Anyone like to? Hey, Ben, just to remind you, this is a special meeting, so long as it's one of the agenda items.
Got it. Any reasoning about number 3 and 4? About not extending Class 8?
Cook County said they weren't ready for our information that we were doing, so they asked us to make some revisions. We're in the process of doing that.
Awesome. And then with 16, I know it's easy to point out people that aren't at the meeting to be leaking information or whatever, but nothing stopping, like, say, Bill Brady, which I don't think you're doing, meeting the trip guy at the 80th Avenue train station and telling him what you saw in the meeting or heard in the meeting. Nothing stopping that, or nothing stopping someone from recording it with their phone. So I get that you're gonna have to know if someone's gonna be gone, they have to get board approval. Well, hopefully, everybody gets along, so people that are sick or whatever get approved. But it's not just people that aren't there, it's people that are there can share information as well.
And staff.
Thank you, Ben.
We'll make a motion to adjourn the special call at 7:03 PM.
I'll second that motion.
Madam Clerk, you call the roll?
Motion to adjourn. Trustee Berg.
Yes.
Trustee Brady.
Yes.
Trustee Brennan.
Yes.
Trustee Galante.
Yes.
Trustee Glatz.
Yes.
Trustee Mueller.
Yes.
Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:03.
Before we begin our next meeting, we'll take a couple-minute break.